episode of Young Hustlers on the Rise, we sit down and talk about specialty coffee with Luce Ave Coffee Roasters owner Helen Choi. We all love coffee, but what makes specialty coffee so special? We're here with our coffee roaster and co-founder of Luce Ave Coffee Roasters, Helen Choi. Helen, can you tell us where you're from?
I was from South Korea and I came here when I was young, and it has been 24 years now. And here I am, Houston, Texas.
So when did you open Luce Ave Coffee Roasters and what made you decide to do that?
We opened Luce Ave Coffee Roasters in 2017. So we opened one in Korea early 2017 and we opened Houston, Texas in late 2017. And me and my co-founder, which one of my best friend, and we decided to open Luce Ave Coffee Roasters just because we were two passionate young hustlers back then who are very dedicated to coffee, and we're very curious, and we had many questions about coffee, so we decided to open our own coffee shop and explore more about coffee.
Okay, so speaking of, what does it take to be a roaster?
Being a roaster takes a lot of efforts. Also on top of that, being a roaster needs a lot of patience, and you need a lot of motivation, and you need a lot of passion. So all those three factors combines together becoming a roaster, and that creates being a good roaster.
So Helen, growing up, was there anyone in particular who introduced you to coffee roasting?
Actually, not in particular. I can't really pick one person. As in general, there's many of my friends who drink coffee before, and also I have people that around me as a team members who's roasting in Korea as well. So they inspire me as a roaster, and when I look at them and how much effort they put it in, and also after the result of that effort, that brings like different to experience different types of roasting and find out how the roasting can affect the coffee, because basically I'm a coffee person and I drink a lot of coffee throughout the day. So that kind of gives me curiosity, how, if I start roasting, what type of coffee taste that I can bring it up to my customers. So that's when I decided to be a roaster.
So Helen, tell us a little bit about latte art.
First of all, I'm not really good at latte art, but I do latte art. But I think many of youngsters in the States that they're very interested in latte art. And good thing about that is that whoever's interested in latte art, basically they will enter into specialty coffee. And they're trying to find out more about coffee. That makes interested in people who weren't even interested about coffee. That makes them to gives them interest in coffee. So I think latte art is very creative, art which not everybody can do. Also, it takes a lot of efforts too. So not just because you become a latte art champion, that doesn't mean that you will become a latte art champion again next year. Not guaranteed, because it takes that many efforts to become the champion of latte art. But just because that much effort, I think people attracts more, and that challenges more of youngsters in the States.
If you had to pick one thing, what's the one thing that you love the most about specialty coffee?
Working in a specialty coffee shop and being a specialty coffee association trainer is very hard, because a lot of people criticize judging just because we're working in a specialty coffee shop. But I think it's very interesting because we can do a variety of different methods, and we can try so many other origins of coffee. and we can also explore more about coffee, which a lot of people don't know about yet. And we also can do many different experiments about coffee.
And so can you tell us a little bit about lighter roasting versus darker roasting, and like what is the difference between those two, and which one is your favorite?
First of all, if I have the question about either I like light or do I like dark, I don't have any preferences because I do roasting based on what people want to drink. And I like roast based on what I want to find out about roasting. So I do many exploring about the roasting, and I try to do different methods of roasting as well. And I think light roasting has more brighter notes compared to dark roasting. And dark roasting has more body and more full city and full body. And it goes very blends well with the milk.
Since coffee has changed dramatically over the years and has become ubiquitous to the American coffee culture, Young Hustler Coffee focuses on third wave coffee, which is a movement to produce high-quality coffee. This will be considered as the culinary appreciation of coffee, where direct trade coffee, single origin coffee, lighter roast, and alternative coffee methods are all a part. Specialty coffee has surpassed its commodity status and continues to grow at a rate of 10% a year. Specialty coffee does not conform to the commodity coffee market price, which places it in a different market of its own. Young Hustler Coffee sources directly from specially selected farms, a practice known as direct trade sourcing. Right now, we carry some of the best Latin American coffee in the world. Let's start with where coffee originated. Historically, it started in Ethiopia and traveled to Yemen, Indonesia, a bungalow in Europe, and then to Latin America. The coffee is handpicked to make sure only the ripe coffee is selected, and after it's washed and dried through various methods, it arrives at Luce Ave Roasters, our local roasting partner. Here we roast small batches of the coffee to perfection and hand deliver it to your door. And what are some leadership traits or qualities that you apply to your team on a daily basis?
First of all, it's very important as a barista. It's a calibration. So we are calibrating our shots throughout the day. So very early in the morning, the first thing that we do is calibrating the shots. We have to taste the shots and we have to calibrate based on what we roasted and what we brewed before and what flavor note that we find out. And also, as a barista, you have to maintain the cleanness, and that's very important. So throughout the day, you always have to maintain your bar very clean. And also, last but not least, I think customer service. So not just making good coffee, not making good drinks, but you also have to give the best customer service and represent your drink fast and efficiently.
So I want to know a little bit more about Luce Ave Roasters in South Korea and about your collection. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, Luce Avenue in South Korea is very different than Luce Avenue Coffee Roasters in Houston, Texas. In terms of that, it's very fast-paced working environment just because the culture is very different. So one Luce Avenue in South Korea is of course, it requires skills. And we literally make every drinks within like minute and minute 30 seconds, because here we more interact with customers and people more relaxed at the coffee shop versus in Korea. Everybody is fast and they're very busy. So they're just come and grab and to go. And also the Luce Ave Coffee Roasters in South Korea is surrounded by like more than 10 other coffee shops. So it's very competitive and also survival game, so you have to be very good at it. Yeah. So all my baristas and also my friend, he's a co-founder, they have really good teamwork as well.
What habits have helped you to be successful?
I think being consistency is very important. Many people, many youngsters in the States, they plan well, but then they don't put that plan into the practice. And putting that plan into practice is very important. And in order to do that, I think you have to be very consistent. And we have to always flashback ourselves how we were on day one. And even myself, I always look back, even though it has been a year since we opened this location, but I always look back in day one how I wanted it, you know, my coffee to be taste like, and how I did my customer service to my first customer. So I think the motivation that brings, you know, that requires many, many consistencies.
And how do you deal with failure?
I've been through this many, many times before when I was even young, and now as well. I take that as my stepping stone. I know it is very easy to just say it, but I had many failures before just because I'm being an entrepreneur. And one thing that I don't do is, let's not just blame anybody else. Blaming is very bad. So I just look forward and see what I did wrong and not make repetition or repeatable, so that way I can be more success in the future. Not making same mistake will lead you to the success.
So speaking of success, what is your definition of success?
Being a success is, I guess, are you happy? I think it's that question. If you're happy, then you're a success. Even though you have millions of dollars, and if you're not happy, then I don't think you can call that success. If that money brings you a stress, then you're not success. So wherever you're at right now, if you're happy, as long as you're happy, then you know you're a successful person.
Lastly, what advice would you give to the entrepreneurs out there who may be watching?
Dream it, plan it, and then make it happen.
That's right.
I think as much as you dream big, then I think you have bigger goal to reach. And once you reach that goal and you feel that, you know, accomplishments, you know, that will bring you so much, you know, happiness and joy. And, you know, also it brings me, like, on top of that, you know, I'm not thinking about, you know, success, but then, like, at the same time, just like, you know, once you reach your goal, it's just like you did it. Like that feeling, like you did it. You accomplished whatever you dreamed before. So I think you have to dream first, and then you plan it, and then make it happen.